today I'm doing a video on characters that I believe are autistic, intentionally or not, but my version of autism. And the reason I say my version is obviously we know that it's a spectrum, but also there are characters that have a representation of autism very obviously, but then there are characters that are less so, but now we have a wider understanding and an updated version of the DSM-5. They definitely are, in my opinion. A couple of them that come to mind, I'm just going to be doing one in this video, let me know if you do want more of these, are Edward Scissorhands, without a doubt, Matilda, which is the original Matilda, not the new musical Matilda, and Elle Woods, which my friend brought to my attention out of Legally Blonde. Yes, however, I will go into the other ones if you want me to. Also, tell me about the characters that you think represent your version of autism that maybe you related to in childhood and you didn't know why, but now you're like, I know another one that came up was Maribel from Encanto. But there are so many, but this video in particular is going to be about Matilda. I'm going to go into the reasons why I believe that she represents a girl on the spectrum. And I want to see what you think to this. And again, I can relate to this because she is not your, like I say, typical presentation. One, she's female. Two, from an outward perspective, she is very well behaved. She is an internalizer rather than an externalizer. So she's more likely to have an internal shutdown rather than a meltdown. And that's something that I can relate to. So, number one, she's a savant.
839 big American buffaloes.
Harry!
What was my profit for the day?
Can you repeat the last one?
$10,265. Check it if you don't believe me.
You're a little cheat. You saw the paper.
From all the way over here?
Are you being smart with me? If you're being smart with me, young lady, you're going to be punished.
Punished for being...
And that is the most obvious sign. Like, she has a skill to read beyond her years, beyond her teachings. And I see this, I actually have clients like this who have an ability to be able to do something to such a deep degree that they have a natural talent for it or a natural interest that is so lifelong that they surpass the average population. And every single one of those people are autistic. So again, I watched a documentary as well about this, about the gifted people, whether it is the man who flew over in a helicopter London and he was able to have such a photographic, he could do a spread visually accurate of London just from going over it once, and I think it took him 6 minutes of flying to be able to embed that in his memory. Like, that is not typical, and he had autism, no surprise. And another savant was the guy who, I don't know his name, and I'll try to input a picture of him if I can find one, but he has such an intense but incredible ability to retain facts and retain numbers and dates in particular. And if you asked him something like, what was the day of 1993 on the 3rd of March, he would be able to tell you the exact day that was, like a Thursday, for example. Don't know if that's true, by the way. And he is somebody who has an intellectual disability, but he also has autism. And I definitely think that that is his autism that we can see, which is a gift that is not something the average population has. So that's the first reason why I think that Matilda is autistic. The second reason, I think that, I know that it's obviously like telekinesis, moving things with mind, but I think that this is the depiction of having higher sensitivity, as well as that being connected to your emotions. I'm going to try and find the right words for this. To be able to move things ultimately. It's something that, not to the degree of Matilda, but it's something that I can do.
All right, sir.
Play Van Morrison, someone like you. 100% you
I have such a sensitivity to energy that I pick up on things that many people are not picking up on. And when I was younger, I didn't understand it, but now I have become so obsessed with the mind and humans and behaviour and cues that I do now understand it. And that took obviously a long time. But I had a sensitivity that other children did not have. And I can move objects, not quite like Matilda, but with the sensitivity of the energies that are interacting with each other. Again, not a typical experience, but definitely more likely to be an experience of an autistic person. The other reason I think that she is autistic is because of her literal thinking and interpretation. Her dad says to her, when a person is bad, that person has to be punished. And she has this flat expression, and she says, a person. Because she's basically interpreting that very literally. She's saying, oh, I never knew that. I actually thought you was going to say when a child is bad. But you said when a person is bad. I'm going to take that very literally and assume that actually a person can be punished for being bad because you literally just told me they can.
When a person is bad, that person has to be taught a lesson.
Person?
Get up. Get up.
Harry Wormwood had unintentionally given his daughter the first practical advice she could use. He meant to say, when a child is bad. Instead, he said, when a person is bad, and thereby introduced a revolutionary idea that children could punish their parents. Only when they deserved it, of course.
And she goes on to obviously do that. But it also lines up with the next point as to why I think that she's autistic. Is because she has a very strong moral code. She's trying to teach her dad, like, don't be a bad person. People need good cars, Dad. People need you to be a good man. I need you to be a good man. And when you're not, that doesn't sit right with me. Like, I need a sense of justice, but also I need a sense of fairness. And she almost puts him onto the even playing field of fairness in relation to his own behaviour.
Yeah. Daddy, you're a crook.
What?
This is illegal.
Yeah, keep drilling. Do you make money? Do you have a job?
No, but don't people need good cars? Can't you sell good cars, Dad?
Listen, you little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
And I love the movie. I don't like the new one because I think it takes it in a completely different direction as in the musical. And again, I think it's because I have a relatability to the first one. And she also does this sense of justice when people are put in the chokey for no good reason. And obviously she does it in relation to Miss Trunchbull. And I find it fascinating when you can see it through that lens of a new understanding. And I don't know whether they intentionally set this up to be like this or whether it just ended up being like this. And now I see that as she was definitely autistic. And I found it fascinating. Another final reason I think that she was autistic is because she was always a little different. Like, she was different to her family, and because her family worked in and operated in a certain way, that was seen as normal to them and typical. And because she was against the grain of that, they disliked her for that.
I sold it for $999. And the fourth cost $1,100. I sold it for $7,839 big American buffaloes.
And obviously the same thing then happens with Miss Trunchbull. And it's only people who can finally tune into her gifts, her talents, and what she's about, like Miss Honey or Violet, can they appreciate her. What do you think to this? I love stuff like this. Do more on this. I will do more characters and the reasons why I believe they're autistic. And again, like I say, my version of autistic, not necessarily your version, maybe not the typical version, but let me know what you think.